What did Brent Venables say about this Missouri game? We'll discuss coming up next here on Locked On Sooners.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
The Oklahoma Sooners and the Missouri Tigers renew a, air quotes, rivalry that dates back to 1902, the first time these two played. They played 96 times in their history, which, listen, I know we don't call it a rivalry, but it is a matchup with historical significance. They've been connected for a very, very long time. The Big 8, the Big 12, but even prior to the Big 8, again, they played a bunch. So we're not going to sit here and call it a rivalry, but it is a game of regional significance. I'll say that much.
Yeah, it's a regional significant game. Like you said, they played 90-plus times, been in the Big 8 together, Big 12 together, so it's renewing a game that we haven't played in a very long time. Lots of Big 12 championship matchups. So you've seen a lot of that. But at the same time, I'm actually curious, who is the Missouri Tigers' rival?
They don't have one. Everybody.
I was like, it feels like everybody's tried to create one for them, and they just don't really have one. I mean, I guess you got the little border war with
like Kansas
or Kansas State. One of those two kind of does it. I don't know. Arkansas, I think there's been something with Arkansas Razorbacks at some point. I don't know. I'm just kind of, you know what? We'll have to ask them, our Missouri expert, who do they consider themselves to be rivals with? I'd say, because if we were truly, I'd say, a quote-unquote rival, we would have been playing, you know, even though they've been gone the last 12 years, you'd find a way to make that game happen. You always try to play against your rivals. That's one that's kind of critical. I mean, unfortunately, our in-state one, they don't want to figure out their schedule to join us, but I digress. You typically try to find a way to play against each other. I mean, Texas was dealing with the same thing with A&M. When A&M left, they're like, we're not playing you anymore. You're dead to us. And so now Texas A&M and Texas get to renew their rivalry. But no, Brent Venables talks about this, and someone asked if it's getting spicy in between the two, and Brent Venables responded with a great quote. He's like, "It's not spicy for me," and he talked about some of the players, and we'll jump on them in a minute, like Cayden Green as well as Theo Wease. And one thing he said, our players are free to go as they please. You don't have time to be bitter. So I guess the spiciness that we've all thinking that they have, there's really no spiciness out there, or he's doing a really good job of playing this down to not provide any bulletin board material.
I mean, it's spicy between fans. I know I've had to mute a lot of Missouri fans over the last year just because it's just nonstop. But it is between the fans. I doubt it will be necessarily between the players. And I'm at this point, man, I got no ill will toward Theo Wease or Cayden Green. Theo Wease, like, I think for him, he just kind of had fallen out of opportunity. You know, he just wasn't getting as big of an opportunity to be a part of the passing game as things were developing. With Cayden Green, we all know the story at this point.
Right.
Young kids, they feel pressure from the adults in their lives sometimes, and they make moves sometimes hastily. And we're seeing now that he's fallen out of the starting lineup with Missouri that maybe this wasn't the best move for him to make, but it was his decision to make. And again, it is what it is. But I'm past like feeling any sort of way about either of those two leaving Oklahoma. It's just the world that we live in. It's the transfer portal. Sometimes the transfer portal is going to benefit you with the Dion Burks. Sometimes you're going to get hurt by it, by losing a freshman All-American, which is what Cayden Green was. It's just unfortunate that he went to Missouri and they broke him.
Yeah, it the transfer portal giveth and the transfer portal taketh away. It's just kind of just the game that it is. So that's basically what's important here. You're going to get some guys out of him. You're going to lose some guys. And for Theo Wease, even Brent Venables talked about him. He was like, he was excellent there. Just unfortunately, it didn't work out to where he's being utilized as much as they would like, or even he would like. It's just kind of how the depth chart works. And he went somewhere where he can be leveraged. And so you're seeing that from him. He's having himself a little solid season there, and he's balling. So now you get to actually see him show, the game that you expected out of him. He's their leader in yards right now this season at 482, second in catches. So, it's him and the Luther Burden show. Those are the two guys you got to keep your eyes on. So he got everything that he needed and wanted by going to Missouri and leaving Oklahoma. He's got the exposure and the ability to be targeted extremely often. And so, Venables was very complimentary of Theo Wease. Same thing with Cayden Green. He knew that he was going to be good no matter where he played. And, he got there and he became a starter at left guard immediately. So it is what it is. The big thing now is that we've got a matchup to drive up there to Columbia and play against Missouri for the first time in a long time. And don't give them any bulletin board material. Just go out there and play hard.
Yeah. It's a game that Oklahoma needs to win. It's a game that gives them an opportunity to earn bowl eligibility. And I know that that's not the goal for Oklahoma football in any given year. But this year, with this team, the way it's gone, earning bowl eligibility gives you a little bit of positive momentum heading into the offseason and gives you all those important bowl practices that you can use to further develop your young guys. So there is an import to it. It would keep a streak of 25 consecutive seasons with a bowl game intact. But more than that, again, it's about getting more practices for those young guys to continue to develop and potentially getting them some snaps in a game that's not going to count against their red shirt.
Yeah. The bowl game, and Venables talked about that too. He mentioned that it's not something they're thinking about right now. They're focused 1 week at a time. And I'm just like, come on, bro. We know that your goal is to get a bowl game so that you can get these guys more practices, especially if it's a nice bowl game you can travel to. You want to have these guys out there getting those extra reps. That is important, as you mentioned. That's a critical component in the development of your players. Having those extra bowl games allows for them to, go through the playbook. If you're not going to a bowl game, guess what? You're done practicing. No more playbook on the field studying. No more going through actual live action. You're done. And then if you have players that decide to early enroll, they're not able to go with you to practice or go to the game. And so that takes away a great experience that you can have for your players. I know that we have a lot of dudes that are planning on early enrolling for the 25 class. You want to have the option to be able to take them to that bowl game, let them see what's going on, let them see the environment and be able to play in it. I would prefer that they, get that option. And so as much as he's saying it's quiet, come on now. We know that you're out there trying to get to that bowl game. It's okay, BV. It's okay to admit it, that you're kind of looking at slightly ahead. But the good thing is this is one of the 3 games that gives you the opportunity to do that. So you go up to Missouri, you handle business, do what you're supposed to do, and then you're talking about bowl game.
Yeah, it might not be something he's vocalizing, but it's something he's thinking about, because how could you not? But that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Sooners. Thanks so much for tuning in, being a part of the show. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button and that notification bell to let you know when new episodes drop. Follow Jay at Unfair Sports. Check out his channel, Unfair Sports, on YouTube as well. Follow me at John 9 Williams. You can also read my work covering the Sooners at SoonersWire.com. The show is at Locked On Sooners on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Formerly known as Twitter, now known as X, whatever you want to call it. We're over there. So follow us over there. But until next time, he's Jay Smith. I'm John Williams. Boomer.
Sooner.